Hello everybody, welcome again to the wonderful Plastic SCM world. This is Manu.
And this is Violeta.
It's great to have you all again back to us. Today we are going to talk about the code review triggers and the rest of triggers in the Plastic SCM system.
Just to say before starting that, as always, if you have any questions during the webinar, you can use the question system and we will stop to answer before continuing. Let's briefly introduce what we are going to see today. First, we will review the triggers we already have, and later we will introduce you the new code review triggers. We have introduced 4 types of triggers: before, after create review, and before, after edit review.
As you may know, we have several commands to manage all the trigger stuff. The first one is make trigger. With this command, we are able to create new triggers in the system. We also have the change trigger command. This command will allow you to change the information associated to a system trigger. And we have also the remove trigger command. This command will delete a trigger identified by a type and a position on a certain repository. We have the list trigger. As you can imagine, this command will list all the triggers that are enabled in the system. And finally, we have the show trigger types command, which will show you all the available commands that you can use.
Well, as Manu said before, with the show trigger types command, we can see the available trigger types. Let's see it before continuing. We have already a lot of available types. For example, before check-in, before create a new branch, or I don't know, all of that, all where you can see on the screen now. And we have introduced 4 new types, as I already said before, and all of them are related with the code reviews. Let me say that, for example, what kind of things you can do with these new types of triggers. Imagine, for example, you don't want to allow to create reviews with a specific title, or you don't want to allow to create reviews with a specific status. For example, you can create a trigger before the review is created, and you can check this kind of files. As you see on the presentation, you can check about the title of the review, about the status of the review, about the assignment or target. As you know, you can create a review of a branch or a change set.
Yes, you can create a code review from a change set for the whole differences inside a branch.
And well, we have a great idea before, and Manu is going to show the trigger we have created. It's something you can use in your work, in your daily work.
Okay, for example, let's say that I want to create a new code review from this branch. So I have to right-click on the branch and click in new code review for this branch. I have to set a title for the code review. In this case, it's going to be Review SCM 001, and the status is pending. I'm going to change the assignee to myself. Okay, so I click OK. This is going to be the code review differences window where I can put the comments, but now I want to close it. I will do it later because I don't want to create the review now. But if I go to my email, I have a new email about the code review. So it's saying I have a new code review, Review SCM 001, the status is pending, and the target is this branch. So enjoy your code review.
This is not magic. Manu is going to explain how he did it.
Yeah. So, for example, as you can remember, we have the command, so cm, these triggers, that I'm going to use the shortcut that is easier, is list trigger LTR. And I can see that I have two triggers. This is the slot number 1 is edit review notifier. This is the name of the trigger. And it's using this binary, code review notifier.x. It's created by myself. And the type is after edit review. And I have another one, but this time it's the same binary, but it is a after make review trigger. So both programs are triggered when I edit the review or I make a new review. Let's try it, okay? Let's go to my code reviews. Right click in the properties. Imagine that I have just finished reviewing the branch and I change the status from pending to approved. I click OK. The color is different, as you can see. And if I go back to my email, I have a new one. I click code review. Okay, and now the status is approved. So this is a very tiny program that is actually very useful if you want to get notification about when you are committed to create a new, to perform a code review. In this program, it's attaching my name, Manu, into my Gmail account. So it's notifying to my email account the events of create new code review or edit an existing code review. So I think to end the webinar, we can create a new trigger, for example, for
before check-in. We use here a trigger before check-in to check that our code is well written. I mean, we don't want that we forget blanks at the end of the lines, and we don't like to write more than 80 or 100 characters per line. So Manu is going to show you how to create this trigger.
Okay, so it's very useful if you are not sure how to create a trigger or how to issue one CM command. Remember that every single command has a -- help modifier that will give you some examples about how to use the command. So in this case, I want to make trigger, but I cannot remember how to do it. So I issue the -- help, and I can remember how to create a trigger. So CM and create trigger.
In this case, it will be before check-in.
So I choose before CI. Can remove. You have the list.
No, you have to write
Yes,
the name completely.
It's the full name. So in this case, I have to write CM check-in. The next is a name for a trigger. So this is going to be style checker, for example. Style
checker or code checker.
Okay, and then I need to specify where the program, the external program is. In this case, in my home directory. So users, Mr. Crocker. Let me find the CR team. Code checker triggers. Code checker. If your program needs to specify some arguments to be issued, you can do it in this line. So, for example, I want to be able to select 80 as the maximum column to be written in a single line. So I specify 80, and that's all. And I accept. and I have a new trigger in the position number 1. So let me list the triggers, and we will attend some question. I think there's a pending question. So as you can see, every single trigger is in the first slot of every type. This is because you have the positions are for each type of trigger. Okay, this is not strange, because if I create a new after MAK revision, I will have the number 2.
So Greg is telling us that he wants, at the end of the webinar, that we provide some guidance for using triggers in a field distributed environment.
Okay. At the end of the webinar, we will attend this suggestion. So now the trigger is online. So let's, for example, edit this file. Too many checkouts. Okay, I will open this one. So I think this trigger is smart enough, and also checks if you have blanks after the line. So I will leave this blank here, and also I'm going to, for example,
You can try to write a big long line.
This is going to be 145 columns, so I expect the trigger to fail. I'm going to save it. I close Visual Studio, and I'm going to commit this file. So let's see.
Well, Manu, try if you don't write comments for the check-in.
Okay. Yes.
Okay, I forget previously, but the trigger is also checking that the comment of the check-in is not empty. This is quite useful because when you are reviewing code, you like that you have comments for the check-in, so it's easier for you.
Okay, so I have to write a comment. Let's see. Let's see now. I commit. Oops.
Well, maybe it's not the final version of the trigger.
Okay, it could be.
It was stored in my computer and I thought it was the final version.
Okay, so
we can give you an example and you can try it at home.
Okay, so this is all. At least the comment checker, it was online. Okay, let's see how we have. Oh, one thing I want to remark, some of the triggers are the trigger is using these environment variables. In this case, the review triggers, the code review triggers, are using these environment variables. Nothing about parameters of the trigger and nothing about external parameters. So there are different types. For example, let me show you. See, these triggers. Yes. No.
You have the capital letters one.
Yes. Okay. I think I have. For example, the check-in trigger is going to give you as the standard input of the trigger all the items that have just been committed. And for example, the remove repository trigger is going to give you, using the standard input of the program, is going to give you the name of the repository and the rep server where the repository was. So you have several options to get information from Plastic. In this case, you only have these environment variables. Okay?
Let me sum up saying that these kind of features allowed you to extend Plastic SCM, as Manu showed you before, with the notifier email. And maybe now we can ask Greg question.
Yes, Greg was asking if we can provide some instructions about a fully distributed environment. Okay, you can, for example, if you are going to be on a distributed way, you have to install the triggers on your local server. So in this case, for example, in Codice, we all have our repository replicated into our local machines. And there's a central repository, which is Diana, and we have in the distributed servers, we have our own checkers. For example, the style checker of the code, we have installed in our personal repositories. But there is also the same trigger set up in the central repository. So you have several options to do it. You can distribute the code reviews, the trigger to your coworkers and install them on their personal repositories, and that's all. I think it's very easy.
Well, I will read the next question. Do the triggers you have in the central repository fire upon synchronization?
Can you explain a little bit more, because we don't have a synchronization trigger, so there's no option to trigger something in the replication operation. Okay, how to enforce the rules in the central repository? Yeah,
Creating the triggers in the central repository.
yeah. You have to take care about about how your coworkers are using the triggers. Right now, I think the only option you have is to ensure the triggers are enabled in your distributed servers, because if not, with a replica, for example, if I don't have the code style checker, I can push my changes into the central repository and screw the style. Yeah, this is a limitation, but as she said, it is a distributed way. You cannot always be dependent on the central repository, as it was thinking that as a distributed. Okay, we are waiting for more questions, or Greg, if you want to add something. He's asking if the sample code of the review notification will be available. Yes, we can. We can. If you write to our account, to our support account, we can email you. But I can promise you that it's a very simple program. It's only 29.
It took him 5 minutes.
Yeah, so it's not very sophisticated. But I can for sure I can email you.
Are there any more questions?
We will wait some minutes for more questions. Okay, Sergi is asking us some questions. Let me read it.
He was taking a look to the trigger risk, and he saw before check-in and before client check-in, for example. What's the difference between them?
Yeah, one is triggered in the server side and the other one is triggered in the client side. So it depends on the machine. If you set it as a client check-in, it's only for client, and before check-in is going to be triggered on the server machine. So basically that's the difference. Oh, no
Don't
worry.
worry.
It's not as silly. It's, actually, it's not. It's a very common question. Okay, we will wait for more questions.
It seems that everything is clear, so I think is that a good place to stop. Thank you for listening 1 week more, and we will be here next week.
Yes, I hope you to see all of you in the next webinar. It will be about all the security.
Manu, sorry, can we get that code style anywhere?
Yes, yes, we can share the code also. We will search for the newer version of the file. I think it checks for empty comments on the commits. Yes, it will check for blanks at the end of the lines, and also it will check you don't have lines bigger than 80 or 100.
Well, you can choose
you can choose the length,
the number of
Okay,
chars
so-
of your line.
as you saw before, you can use the trigger parameters to specify a number, a certain number. So if you don't want to have 80, you can specify 100 or 90 or whatever you want.
When you create the trigger, you specify the number of characters.
If you want the code of the triggers, please send an email to the support account of Plastic SCM. Okay, so I hope you to okay. No.
It will be useful to test.
Yes.
Of course.
Okay. So the next webinar is going to be about all the security stuff, the new how
System, security system.
Yes. No, it's not going to be about the security system. It's going to be the administrator tool
The admin tool.
and
Right.
everything
Yes.
about the audit
How you
law.
can migrate
Yes.
your databases
Yes.
and more stuff that you can do as admin.
You know all about security admin because we have a new law that is the audit law, where Plastic is going to write all the
Actions you perform,
all the very important actions like delete changes, delete branch, some of the merge, things like that, things very sensible. So I hope you to be in the next webinar.
See you next week.
Bye bye.